Are you truly happy or just busy surviving life? That's the question nobody wants to answer out loud. Because if you slow down for even a second, if you really look at it, you start to see the scam. You wake up early, you grind, you chase money, you chase status, you chase approval. You scroll through perfect bodies, perfect houses, perfect vacations. Everyone smiling, everyone winning. And somehow, even when you get a taste of it, more money, better job, better car, it still feels like something's missing. Like you're playing a game where the rules keep changing. They told you happiness lives at the top, at the next promotion, in the next relationship, in the next purchase. Just keep climbing, just keep buying, just keep proving yourself. But what if the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall? What if the chase itself is the trap? Most people don't even realize they're running. They think they're choosing. They think they're building a life. But look closer. Since when did your worth get tied to numbers on a screen? Since when did likes become proof that you matter? Since when did rest start to feel like failure? We compare constantly. Your friend makes more. Your neighbor buys bigger. Some influencer half your age retires early and tells you it's easy. And suddenly, your life feels small, even if yesterday you were proud of it. That's the trick. Comparison is quiet. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It rewrites your standards without asking permission. You stop measuring your life by your own progress. You start measuring it by someone else's highlight reel. And highlight reels don't show the debt. They don't show the panic attacks. They don't show the fights behind closed doors. Social media isn't reality. It's marketing. Everyone's selling their body, their success, their happiness, and you're the buyer. You scroll at night in the dark, phone inches from your face, absorbing curated perfection, and you wonder why your real life feels dull. It's not dull, it's just unfiltered. But your brain doesn't know the difference. It just sees what you don't have. So you start living in the future. I'll be happy when I lose the weight, when I make 6 figures, when I move out, when I get married, when I prove them wrong. Happiness gets postponed, always one milestone away, always just out of reach. You treat today like a waiting room, something to endure until real life starts. But real life never announces itself. It just keeps happening while you're planning. And then there's the past, the replay button, the mistakes, the missed chances, the breakup you still analyze at 2 a.m., the business idea you never launched, the words you wish you didn't say, or the ones you wish you did. The past becomes evidence, evidence that you're not good enough, evidence that you're behind. So now you're stuck. Regret pulling you backward, anxiety dragging you forward. And the present, it gets crushed in between. That's where most people live. Not in the moment, not in peace, just in tension, constant tension. And here's the part nobody advertises. Even the people who win the game sometimes feel the same emptiness. The big house doesn't silence your thoughts. The promotion doesn't erase insecurity. The applause fades faster than you expect. You think money will fix the feeling, and maybe it fixes some problems. Bills get paid, options increase, but the quiet moments, the ones where it's just you and your thoughts, those don't disappear. If anything, they get louder, because now you've run out of excuses. You told yourself, once I make it, I'll feel different. And then you make it, and you feel normal. Maybe proud for a week, maybe excited for a month, but then the bar moves. It always moves. The system is built that way. Desire fuels consumption. Consumption fuels profit. Profit fuels the machine. And the machine doesn't care if you're fulfilled. It cares if you're hungry. Hungry people keep spending. Hungry people keep chasing. So you stay slightly dissatisfied, just enough to keep going, just enough to never stop. You call it ambition. They call it growth. But deep down, it feels like survival. Like if you stop climbing, you'll fall behind. Behind who? Behind what? Nobody really knows. But the fear is real. And fear is powerful. It keeps you working late. It keeps you saying yes when you want to say no. It keeps you proving yourself to people who stopped paying attention years ago. So ask yourself again, are you happy or are you just distracted?
distracted by noise, by competition, by endless goals. We were told happiness comes from outside, from achievements you can post, from validation you can count, from relationships that look good in pictures. But what if that's the misdirection? What if happiness isn't at the end of the race? What if the race was never designed to give it to you? Look at how often you postpone feeling okay. After this project, after this check clears, after this drama settles, peace becomes conditional, temporary, transactional. You trade your time, your focus, your sleep, hoping to earn a feeling that can't be purchased. And every time you think you're close, the target shifts, because comparison doesn't end. There's always someone richer, smarter, stronger, younger, louder. The world makes sure of that. It keeps you looking sideways so you never look inward, because inward is quiet. Inward doesn't generate clicks. Inward doesn't sell products. But inward is uncomfortable, because when you stop running, when you stop scrolling, when you sit in silence, there's no scoreboard, no audience, no applause, just you. And that's where the real question starts to burn. If happiness isn't in the money, not in the success, not in other people's approval, then where does it actually begin? Not in the next purchase, not in the next milestone, not in the version of you that exists 5 years from now. It doesn't begin in comparison. It doesn't begin in performance. It begins somewhere quieter, somewhere less profitable, somewhere the system doesn't spotlight. But to see it, you'd have to step off the moving walkway. And that's terrifying, because if you stop running, you might realize you were never behind to begin with. Or worse, you might realize you've been chasing someone else's definition of happiness this entire time. And if that's true, then everything you built, everything you sacrificed, everything you endured was for a finish line that was never meant to make you whole. So ask yourself one more time, are you truly happy, or are you just busy surviving a game you never agreed to play?
So if happiness isn't out there, if it's not hiding in a bigger paycheck or a better relationship, then where does it start? It starts in a place most people avoid. It starts inside you. Not the polished version, not the one you post, the real one, the one with doubts, the one with scars, the one who remembers every failure in high definition. That's where it begins, and that's the part nobody teaches you, because self-acceptance doesn't sell. There's no subscription model for being okay with yourself. The world makes money convincing you that you're unfinished, that you're one upgrade away from being worthy. Better body, better mindset, better wardrobe, better network. Always better, always improving. And improvement isn't the problem. The problem is the quiet belief underneath it. The belief that who you are right now isn't enough. So you delay your own happiness. You tell yourself you'll relax once you lose the weight. You'll feel confident once you make more money. You'll respect yourself once you hit that goal. Until then, you stay in judgment mode. You criticize, you compare, you replay your mistakes like security footage. But here's the twist. The more you fight yourself, the more you split in two. One version chasing perfection, the other hiding in shame. That split drains you, and drained people don't feel happy. They feel tired. Self-acceptance isn't soft. It's brutal. It means looking at your flaws without flinching. It means admitting you're insecure about certain things, that you procrastinate, that you've hurt people, that you've been jealous, that you've been weak. And instead of building a fake persona to cover it, you say, yeah, that's me, and I'm still here. Not perfect, not finished, but here. Most people think accepting themselves means giving up. It doesn't. It means ending the internal war. It means you stop waiting to become some flawless future version before allowing yourself to feel okay. Because that future version, it keeps moving. You reach one level and immediately see another. You fix one insecurity and discover two more. If happiness depends on perfection, you'll never collect it. There's always something left to fix, always something left to optimize. So you stay in construction mode forever. And construction sites aren't peaceful. They're loud, they're chaotic, they're temporary. Imagine living like that in your own head. Now flip it. Imagine saying, I'm allowed to feel good even while I'm still growing. That's dangerous. Dangerous to the system that profits from your dissatisfaction. Because once you accept yourself, you become harder to manipulate. You don't chase validation as desperately. You don't buy every solution being sold. You're not as easy to control, and control thrives on insecurity. Then there's gratitude, not the cheesy version, not the forced smile, the real version. Your brain is wired to scan for threats, problems, gaps, what's missing. It's survival programming, thousands of years old. Back then, it kept you alive. Today, it just keeps you stressed. You wake up and your mind immediately lists what's wrong. Bills, deadlines, texts you forgot to answer, goals you haven't hit. It rarely starts with what's working. But when you deliberately shift focus, something changes. Not magically, mechanically. You start noticing what didn't go wrong. Your body works. You can breathe without thinking about it. Someone cares about you, even one person. You have access to information, opportunity, possibility. Small things, a quiet morning, a good cup of coffee, a message that made you laugh. These aren't flashy, they won't trend, but they're real. And when you train your attention to see them, your internal atmosphere shifts. You're not ignoring problems, you're just refusing to let them be the only story. Gratitude doesn't erase struggle, it balances perspective, and perspective shapes emotion. But here's where it gets deeper. Even self-acceptance and gratitude can turn into performance if you're not careful. You start trying to be mindful, trying to stay positive, and suddenly that becomes another goal to achieve, another standard to meet, another way to judge yourself when you fall short. The truth is simpler and harder at the same time. The biggest mistake we make is living everywhere except right now. We live in reruns and previews. The past becomes a courtroom. You're both the defendant and the prosecutor. You revisit old conversations, old failures, old embarrassments. You ask what you could have done differently. You imagine alternate endings. But the scene is over. The credits rolled. Yet you're still arguing with ghosts. Then your mind jumps forward. The future becomes a disaster movie. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail again? What if I'm not ready? Anxiety is imagination pointed in the wrong direction, and it feels real. Your heart rate rises, your muscles tense, all because of scenarios that haven't happened. So now you're stuck, regret behind you, fear ahead of you. And the present moment too, it gets ignored. But happiness only exists in the present, not in memory, not in projection, only here, only now. That doesn't mean life is perfect in this moment. It means this moment is the only place you can actually feel anything. You can't feel tomorrow. You can't feel last year. You can only feel now. But most people treat now like a stepping stone, a means to an end, something to push through. They rush through meals, through conversations, through sunsets, always thinking about what's next, always slightly elsewhere. And when you're never fully where you are, you never fully experience anything, including joy. Being present isn't mystical. It's attention. It's noticing your breath, the sound in the room, the expression on someone's face while they're talking. It's finishing a task without checking your phone 5 times. It's feeling discomfort without immediately escaping it. Presence is power, because when you're here, comparison fades, regret softens, anxiety quiets. Not completely, but enough. Enough to breathe, enough to feel something steady. So happiness starts within, with acceptance instead of constant self-attack, with gratitude instead of constant lack, with presence instead of constant escape. It's less dramatic than the chase, less glamorous than the grind, but it's real, and it's available now, not after you fix everything, not after you become someone else, now.
But mindset alone is not enough, because the way you think shapes your happiness, yes, but what you do every single day either reinforces that peace or slowly erodes it. And that's where habits enter the story.
Mindset sounds powerful. It feels powerful. But thinking differently without living differently doesn't change much. Happiness isn't something you stumble across like loose cash on the sidewalk. It's built, quietly, repeatedly, daily. The small things you do when nobody's watching matter more than the big things you post when everyone is. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough, a big win, a dramatic shift. But happiness doesn't explode into your life. It accumulates, or it erodes, and the direction depends on your habits. Look at how you start your morning. Before your feet even touch the floor, your hand reaches for your phone. Notifications, emails, news, someone's opinion, someone's success, someone's crisis. In seconds, your mind is hijacked. You haven't even met yourself yet today, and you're already reacting to the world. That first scroll sets the tone, comparison, urgency, noise, and you call it normal. Try something different. Wake up and don't check your phone. Not for 5 minutes, not for 10. Just sit there. Let your mind boot up without external input. It feels uncomfortable at first, like you're missing something important, but what's actually happening is withdrawal. You're reclaiming your attention. That's power. 5 minutes of silence won't make you enlightened, but it will make you aware. Aware of your thoughts, your tension, your mood before the world tells you how to feel. Silence isn't empty, it's revealing. It shows you what's already inside, and when you notice it early, you can shape it instead of being dragged by it. Then there's your body. Most people treat it like a vehicle they only refuel when it's almost empty. You sit for hours, you move from chair to car to couch, and then you wonder why your mood is flat. Your body and mind aren't separate departments, they're connected. Move your body and your mind shifts with it. It doesn't require a gym membership or a perfect plan. A short walk, 10 push-ups, stretching in your living room. Blood flows, oxygen moves, chemicals change, your state changes. You feel slightly stronger, slightly clearer, and that slight shift compounds over time. Happiness isn't fireworks, it's stability, and stability is built physically as much as mentally. Then there's your energy, not mystical energy, emotional energy, attention, focus, mood. Every environment you enter either feeds it or drains it. Think about how you feel after certain conversations. Some people leave you lighter, others leave you tense, defensive, smaller. Negative environments aren't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle sarcasm, constant complaining, quiet competition. You start absorbing it without noticing. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means being selective. You don't owe unlimited access to everyone. You don't have to attend every argument. You don't have to respond to every provocation. Boundaries are habits too. The habit of saying no, the habit of walking away, the habit of not engaging when engagement costs too much. These things seem small, but repeated daily, they define your emotional climate. Most people think they need a perfect life to be happy. Perfect job, perfect partner, perfect timing. But perfection is a moving target. Healthy routines are concrete. They exist today. You can't control the economy. You can't control other people's behavior. You can't control random chaos. But you can control how you start your morning. You can control whether you move your body. You can control whether you sit in silence for 5 minutes instead of drowning in noise. Routines create structure. Structure creates stability, and stability makes happiness sustainable. Without routines, you're reactive. Every mood swing dictated by external events. Good news, you're up. Bad news, you're down. Someone compliments you, you feel confident. Someone criticizes you, you collapse. That's not peace. That's volatility. Habits anchor you. They give you something solid when the day gets messy. And days always get messy. The world is loud, aggressive, competitive. If you don't build internal order, you get swept into external chaos.
That's why happiness can't be random. It has to be practiced, the same way strength is practiced, the same way skill is practiced. Nobody wakes up one day emotionally fit by accident. They build it through repetition, through discipline, through small, boring consistency. And boring is underrated. Boring routines don't get applause. Nobody claps because you chose not to check your phone. Nobody cheers because you took a walk instead of arguing online. But those quiet decisions shape your inner world. Over weeks, over months, over years, you look back and realize you're steadier, less reactive, less desperate for validation. That's not luck, that's habit. You don't need a perfect life. You need patterns that protect your peace, patterns that strengthen your body, patterns that guard your attention. But here's the catch. You can have solid routines. You can wake up early, move your body, sit in silence, avoid the scroll, and still feel drained by the end of the day. Because habits build your foundation, but the people around you build your atmosphere. You can be disciplined, focused, improving, but if the voices in your environment constantly criticize, compete, manipulate, or complain, it leaks into you, slowly, repeatedly, like water dripping on stone. You don't notice it at first. Then one day you realize you're more irritable, more doubtful, more tense, not because your routines failed, but because your environment overpowered them. Humans are social. You absorb tone, beliefs, expectations. If everyone around you treats life like a battlefield, you start bracing for war. If everyone treats success like a zero-sum game, you start guarding instead of growing. You can't build happiness in isolation from your relationships. Even the strongest habits struggle in toxic soil. And that's where the next layer reveals itself. Because daily routines build you, but the people you allow close to you either multiply that strength or quietly dismantle it.
You can build discipline. You can master your mornings. You can control your thoughts. But if you're alone in a room with nobody who really knows you, something still feels off. Because real happiness doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in connection. Not surface-level connection, not followers, not contacts, real connection. The kind where someone sees you without the performance. Strong family bonds, not perfect ones, real ones. The kind where arguments happen but loyalty stays, where history runs deep, where people remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That kind of connection grounds you. It reminds you that you're more than your current success or failure. Then there are honest friendships, not networking, not strategic alliances, friends who tell you the truth even when it stings, friends who call you out when you're slipping, friends who celebrate your wins without secretly competing. Those are rare, and rare things are powerful. Because in a world full of filters and performance, honesty feels almost dangerous. Conversations that matter, not small talk, not status updates, real conversations about fear, about ambition, about doubt, about the pressure to keep winning. Most men don't have that. They talk about money, sports, business, but rarely about what's actually weighing on them. So it stays inside, compressed, and pressure builds. Meaningful relationships release that pressure. They give you space to exist without pretending. And that's where happiness deepens, not in applause, in understanding. But here's the part most people miss. Connection isn't just about receiving, it's about giving, helping someone, mentoring someone, supporting someone when they're down. When you give value, you feel valuable. Not because someone praised you, but because you saw the impact. You watched your words change someone's direction. You watched your effort lighten someone's burden. That does something to you. It expands you. It shifts you from constant self-focus to contribution. And contribution hits differently. Chasing validation is exhausting. Contributing creates momentum. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start asking, "How can I help?" That shift is powerful. It pulls you out of your own head, out of constant comparison, out of the small, repetitive loop of self-doubt. Suddenly, your existence affects more than just your own progress, and that changes the game. But relationships alone aren't enough. You can have good people around you and still feel lost if you have no direction.
That's where purpose enters. Not some grand destiny, not a dramatic calling written in the sky. Purpose can be small, it can be simple, but it has to be yours. You need a reason to wake up, a goal you're moving toward, a direction that pulls you forward instead of pushing you from behind. Without purpose, days blur together. You wake up, work, scroll, sleep, repeat. And even if everything looks fine from the outside, inside it feels empty, like you're drifting. Purpose doesn't have to impress anyone. It doesn't have to make headlines. It just has to matter to you. Maybe it's building something, a business, a skill, a stronger body. Maybe it's providing for your family in a way your father couldn't. Maybe it's breaking a pattern that's been in your bloodline for generations. That's purpose. It's personal. It gives your suffering context. Because life will test you, that's guaranteed. But when you have a direction, pain feels different. It feels like part of the climb instead of random punishment. And here's the thing about purpose. It evolves. What drives you at 25 might not drive you at 40. That's normal. The mistake is thinking you need one massive permanent mission before you can move. You don't. You need a next step, a small direction. Momentum builds clarity. Action sharpens purpose. And when you combine that with meaningful relationships, something powerful happens. You're not just chasing personal gain. You're building something that connects to others. You're sharing the journey, celebrating wins together, surviving losses together. That shared experience amplifies everything. Success feels better when someone understands what it cost you. Failure feels lighter when someone reminds you who you are beyond it. So now look at the full picture. Inner peace from self-acceptance, stability from daily habits, strength from meaningful relationships, direction from purpose. These aren't flashy, they don't trend, but they stack. And when they stack, happiness stops feeling like a random mood and starts feeling like a foundation. Not constant euphoria, not nonstop excitement, something steadier, something grounded. You wake up with direction, you move with discipline, you connect with honesty, you contribute with intention. And slowly, the desperate chase for external validation loses its grip. You're not perfect, your life isn't perfect, but it feels aligned. And alignment feels powerful. So when you combine inner peace, daily habits, and meaningful relationships, what do you finally discover about happiness? You discover it was never a trophy, never a finish line. It's the byproduct of how you live. It shows up quietly when your actions, your values, and your connections stop fighting each other. It's not something you capture, it's something you cultivate. And once you see that, the chase starts to look different. The noise fades a little. The pressure shifts, because maybe happiness was never about having more. Maybe it was about living in a way that doesn't betray who you are. And that realization changes everything.
At some point, you realize something uncomfortable. There is no finish line, no final level where everything locks into place and the music swells and you finally feel complete. Happiness is not a destination. It's not a city you move to. It's not a number in your bank account. It's not a relationship status. You don't arrive at it like an airport gate after a long flight. That idea is seductive, though. It keeps you moving, keeps you grinding. Once I get there, I'll relax. Once I achieve that, I'll feel good. But there is always another there, another target, another version of success. If happiness depends on arrival, you'll spend your whole life in transit, and transit is exhausting. The truth is less dramatic and more demanding. Happiness is a daily decision, not a loud one, not a motivational quote you post, a quiet decision. The way you interpret what happens to you, the way you talk to yourself when things fall apart, the way you respond when someone disrespects you, when plans collapse, when money gets tight, when people leave. You don't control the weather of life. Storms show up uninvited, markets crash, relationships end, bodies age, people disappoint you. You don't control most of it. That's reality. But you do control your response. Not perfectly, not instantly, but deliberately. And that response shapes your experience more than the event itself. Two people can go through the same loss. One collapses into bitterness, the other rebuilds with scars, but also strength. The difference isn't luck, it's interpretation. It's the story they choose to tell themselves. You can't stop negative thoughts from appearing, but you can decide whether to feed them. You can't prevent fear from knocking, but you can decide whether it gets a chair at your table. That's the choice. Daily, repeated, sometimes messy. Happiness isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let chaos define you. It's a way of thinking, a way of living. It's choosing to focus on what you can build instead of what you can't control. It's choosing discipline over impulse, presence over distraction, gratitude over constant lack. And you won't get it right every day. Some days you'll react badly, you'll snap, you'll doubt yourself, you'll fall back into comparison. That doesn't disqualify you. It just reminds you that this is a practice, a journey. And journeys aren't straight lines. They twist, they stall, they test you. But every morning gives you another decision. You can wake up and scroll into anxiety, or you can wake up and breathe before the noise hits. You can let one bad moment define your mood, or you can reset. That reset is power. Small, almost invisible power, but over time, it compounds. The world will keep trying to sell you happiness as a product, as a lifestyle upgrade, as something reserved for people who made it. But look also, some of the most outwardly successful people are restless, always chasing, always upgrading. Because if happiness depends on external conditions, it disappears the second those conditions shift. Markets change, trends fade, status moves to someone younger, faster, louder. If your happiness is attached to that, it moves with it. That's unstable. Real stability comes from internal choice. You decide what matters. You decide how much access negativity gets. You decide what kind of person you're going to be when pressure hits. And that decision repeats daily. This isn't glamorous. It won't go viral. Nobody throws a parade because you chose patience over anger. But internally, it changes everything. Because you stop waiting. Waiting for life to calm down. Waiting for perfect timing. Waiting for approval. You act from where you are, with what you have, and you build from there. That's the journey. Not climbing to some mythical state of permanent bliss, but choosing alignment today. Choosing growth today. Choosing peace today. Even if yesterday was messy. Even if tomorrow is uncertain. And the irony? Once you stop chasing happiness like a trophy, it starts showing up more often, in ordinary moments, in quiet wins, in conversations that feel real, in progress that nobody else notices. It stops being dramatic. It becomes steady. You realize you may never control the headlines of your life, but you can control the tone. You control whether you live in reaction or intention, and that tone shapes everything. So happiness is not something you find. It is something you choose. Over and over again, in traffic, in arguments, in setbacks, in success, especially in success, because even that can distract you. The choice remains, and now it's yours. If this changed the way you see happiness, even slightly, then don't just move on to the next distraction. Like this video so more people can see it. Subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges the way you think and pushes you to level up. And share this with someone who's stuck chasing something that never seems to satisfy. Because maybe they don't need a bigger win. Maybe they just need a different choice.